27 years ago, a baby's body was found near the Moses statue in Albany's Washington Park. The community named him Baby Moses, and for decades his short life remained a mystery. Who was he? Who left him there? And why? Detectives chased every lead, but the case went cold until a breakthrough in DNA technology brought shocking answers. When investigators knocked on Keri Mazzuca's door in 2024, they carried with them a truth science had uncovered: the child was hers. What followed was a chilling 3-hour interrogation where a mother finally admitted, after decades of silence, "I did it." Her confession, the courtroom drama, and the community's long fight for justice revealed one of the darkest secrets Albany had ever seen. This is the story of Baby Moses, the mother who tried to erase him, and the science that refused to let him be forgotten. If you're ready to uncover the truth, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories where hidden crimes are finally brought into the light. The crime, Baby Moses' cold case unfolds. In early September 1997, the lifeless body of a newborn boy, quickly dubbed Baby Moses, was discovered in Albany's Washington Park, wrapped in a scorched pillowcase buried near the Moses statue. Autopsy findings confirmed the infant had been alive and under 12 hours old at the time of death. This heartbreaking case haunted the community for decades without any leads until modern forensic technology provided a breakthrough. Forensic breakthrough, DNA leads the way. Around 2020, Albany police, teaming up with the Cold Case Analysis Center at the former College of St. Rose, revived the investigation using advanced DNA analysis. By December 2022, DNA recovered from household trash at Keri Mazzuca's residence matched genetic material linked to Baby Moses, effectively identifying her as a relative of the infant. Mazzuca, then 52, was arrested in September 2024 and arraigned on charges including second-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and concealing a corpse. Guilty plea and sentencing. In February 2025, Mazzuca pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter and evidence tampering under a plea agreement. On April 18, 2025, she was sentenced to 25 years in prison, the maximum allowed under the deal. The judge described the infant's death as a tragedy beyond measure and noted the sentence. What possible sentence could compensate for the life you stole? The city arranged burial for the infant at Graceland Cemetery, with a headstone reading, Moses Washington, citizen of Albany, child of God. The interrogation, captured in a 3.5-hour police confession.
So I appreciate you coming down here. I'm going to explain to you exactly what's going on here, okay? You might be able to help us out with some things. We kind of have a little bit of a mystery on our hands, I'll say,
okay.
That we're trying to sort out. So you said you have 2 kids, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any other kids?
No.
No? Okay.
Nope.
How many times have you been pregnant?
2.
2?
Yes.
Okay.
Very easy, very...
Easy pregnancies?
Mm-hmm.
No issues?
Nope.
Are you familiar with this area at all?
Within Washington Park? I've seen it during Tulip Festival.
Okay. Have you ever been here?
Just looked, the only time I ever got to Washington Park was Tulip Festival.
Tulip Fest. Okay.
Yeah.
So where these flower beds are over here, right by this road,
Mm-hmm.
this is where the remains
Oh.
are found. Yeah. Okay. But I mean, easy
Ooh, I'm
enough.
sorry, I've got goosebumps.
Oh, it's horrible.
Ugh.
I mean, it is. This is a baby, if you couldn't tell.
I'm
yeah?
gonna throw up. Like, that's gross.
I know. Hang tight 1 sec.
This is not in your
way,
throat.
way easier than that. Just open your mouth for me.
At first, denied
mean,
knowing
your
much about the
mind.
case, even the Moses statue in
What would
Washington
cause
Park,
someone
and
to
said she
leave a
didn't
baby
follow
in
CSI-style
this
shows,
place?
calling them
Anything you
stupid,
could think
then
of.
quickly apologizing.
No.
3.
'Cause they have
Confronting
all those,
evidence. The detective showed her a photo from the crime scene. At that moment, she gasped, covered her face, and ultimately blurted, "I did it." 4. Horrific details emerge. She admitted giving birth alone in a bathtub, smothering the infant by covering its mouth and nose and feeling its little breaths. She then wrapped the body in cloth, set it on fire, and left it buried in the park. 5. Emotional breakthrough. Mazzuca said she was in shock and had blocked out the traumatic memory. When shown graphic photos, her composure broke. 6. Final moments of confession. Alone in the room at times, she at one point appeared to fall asleep. Later, asked what she would say to her baby now, she whispered, "I love you and I'm sorry." But there's so much more: the full transcript, the tone shifts, the unspoken pauses, what detective lawyer said next, and how Mazzuca's face changed. Curious to explore the next part, the moment where her walls truly crumble, or the emotional turning point where remorse finally surfaces? Let me know, and I can delve deeper into the interrogation or any other aspect you want: legal aftermath, forensic methods, courtroom details, or how the community responded. Albany police detectives brought Mazzuca, then 52, into an interview room. She looked calm, ordinary, even chatty at first, sipping water, apologizing whenever she felt her words sounded rude. Detective Rob Lawyer led the questioning, using a quiet, non-threatening approach. He didn't push immediately, he let silence and small talk work. Now pay close attention as we deliver all the details in stages. Stage 1, the soft approach. Lawyer explained why she was there. Advances in DNA had reopened an old unsolved case. He referenced genealogy techniques that cracked other famous cases like the Golden State Killer. He didn't accuse her outright, instead, he framed it as, "Science has come a long way. We know more now than ever before." Mazzuca acted confused, even joked about never watching crime shows, calling them stupid, then quickly added, "Sorry, I don't mean it like that." She tried to project normalcy. But the detectives already had DNA evidence linking her to the baby. Stage 2, confrontation with evidence. The detective slowly turned the conversation toward the Moses statue in Washington Park. Mazzuca claimed she didn't know it, despite growing up nearby. Lawyer then slid across a crime scene photo, the charred pillowcase, the infant's remains. That was the breaking point. She gasped, covered her face with both hands, and whispered, "I did it." The first crack in her wall. Stage 3, the horrific details. Once she admitted involvement, the story began to spill out, fragmented, halting, punctuated with long silences. She gave birth alone in her bathroom tub. No doctor. No family. In a panicked haze, she pressed her hands over the infant's mouth and nose. Oh, she recalled feeling the tiny breaths against her palm. "Oh, and then, he stopped," she whispered. She wrapped the newborn in cloth, placed him in a pillowcase, and set it on fire in a desperate attempt to erase what had happened. She carried the remains to Washington Park, burying them near the Moses statue. Stage 4, emotional collapse. At first, her tone was almost detached, as if she was remembering a dream. But when detectives pressed, showing her more photographs, reminding her the baby had been alive, her composure shattered. She cried softly, saying she had blocked it out 4 decades, convincing herself it hadn't happened. Left alone in the room, she covered her face, rocking back and forth. At one point, she appeared to doze off from exhaustion, her body slumped in the chair. Stage 5, the remorse. When asked, if you could say anything to him now, what would it be? She paused for a long time. Then, barely audible, "I love you, and I'm sorry." Those were the final words of her taped confession. But what happened next was even more unsettling. Detectives didn't stop there. They probed deeper, asking why she hid the pregnancy, whether anyone else knew, and what had happened in the hours leading up to that bathtub birth. And in that moment, when confronted with the possibility that someone else might have known, Mazzuca's expression shifted in a way that chilled even the detectives. Stage 6, the question of secrecy. After her confession, detectives shifted focus. "Keri, no one knew you were pregnant? Not family? Not friends?" Mazzuca shook her head. She said she hid the pregnancy entirely, never told a soul, and never sought medical care. She wore baggy clothes, avoided social gatherings, and lived as if nothing was happening. Detectives weren't fully convinced. For 9 months, not a single person noticed? Stage 7, pushing the timeline. They pushed her about the days leading up to the birth. Had she planned to abandon the baby? Did she ever think about adoption or safe haven options? Why the bathtub? Her answers were hesitant, inconsistent. She said she was in denial, pretending it wasn't real. On the night of the birth, she claimed panic took over. She insisted she hadn't thought beyond just making it go away. Stage 8, a possible accomplice? Detectives asked bluntly. Was anyone else involved that night? Did someone help you carry him to the park? Her reaction was startling. For the first time, she froze, her eyes darted toward the wall, lips pressed tightly. Silence stretched. Finally, she whispered. No, it was just me. But her hesitation raised suspicion. Detectives later noted in their report that her body language suggested she may not have been fully truthful on this point. Stage 9, the psychological block. When asked why she hadn't come forward after all these years, her explanation was chilling. I put it away. Like it never happened. I told myself, it wasn't real. She admitted she disassociated from the memory, pushing it so far down that even seeing the statue in Washington Park didn't trigger recognition. She had lived in Albany all those years, walking distance from where the baby was found, yet managed to bury the memory as if it belonged to someone else. Stage 10, the turning point. As the interrogation wrapped, detective lawyer circled back. Keri, when you look at this baby, when you see these photos, do you still tell yourself it wasn't real? For the first time, her answer wasn't denial or detachment. She whispered, barely audible. It was real. He was mine. That admission changed everything. But what detectives did next was unexpected. They brought in something that forced Mazzuca to confront not just the crime, but the identity of the child she buried for 27 years. Stage 11, the emotional tactic. Up until now, Mazzuca had been speaking in fragments, confessing, yes, but still keeping a distance from the reality of what she had done. Detective Rob Lawyer leaned forward and said, Keri, you should know something. That baby, he wasn't forgotten. Then he told her how, after the discovery in 1997, the city of Albany arranged for a burial. Stage 12, the baby's identity. Police and the community gave him a name. Moses Washington. Citizen of Albany. Child of God. They placed a small gravestone at Graceland Cemetery. For 27 years, strangers came to leave flowers, stuffed animals, and prayers for a baby who never had a chance. When detectives told Mazzuca this, she went silent. Her hands trembled. Stage 13, her breaking point. At first, she shook her head, whispering, No, 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 no. I didn't know. Her face crumpled. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she whispered again and again. I didn't know, they gave him a name? This was the moment she seemed to truly see her son as a person, not a problem, not a memory to suppress, but a child who had been claimed by a community when she had abandoned him. Stage 14, the final question. The detective pressed softly. Keri, what would you say to Moses now, knowing he's remembered, knowing he has a place in this world? She buried her face in her hands, her voice breaking. I'd tell him I love him. I'd tell him I'm sorry. And I'd tell him. I wish I'd been strong enough. Stage 15, the aftermath. That was the end of her taped confession. After more than 3 hours, the interrogation closed with Mazzuca emotionally spent, rocking back and forth, whispering apologies to a child she hadn't spoken of in nearly 3 decades. But while her confession gave closure, it also opened new questions. Why did she hide the pregnancy so completely? Did fear, shame, or something darker drive her actions? And was there truly no one else who suspected the truth back in 1997? Stage 16, living a double life. After her arrest, prosecutors painted a portrait of a woman who had lived in 2 worlds. In one, she was a quiet, hard-working mother of 2 adult children, living an ordinary life in Altamont. In the other, she was a woman who once secretly gave birth in her bathtub, smothered her newborn, and burned his body before burying him in a park. Her neighbors were stunned. One described her as just a normal mom, the last person you'd think could do something like that. Stage 17, the evidence trail. In court, the prosecution detailed how she was finally caught. Detectives retrieved discarded trash outside her home. DNA from a household item matched the baby's remains. This breakthrough cracked the 27-year silence wide open. The forensic link was airtight, there was no escape. Stage 18, the courtroom shock. During hearings, the judge directly addressed her. What possible sentence could compensate for the life you stole? The courtroom fell silent as prosecutors read from the confession video. The words "I did it" and "I blocked it out" were repeated for the jury and the victim's advocates. Family members of Mazzuca sat with heads bowed, caught between disbelief and grief. Stage 19, the prosecutor's argument. The DA emphasized. This wasn't just panic, it was a choice. She had 9 months to seek help, 9 months to prepare for adoption, 9 months to spare the infant. Instead, she chose silence and concealment. The defense countered that she was a young, terrified woman back in 1997, acting out of trauma and denial, not malice. Stage 20, the sentence. In February 2025, Mazzuca pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter and tampering with evidence, sparing her a murder trial. On April 18, 2025, she was sentenced to 25 years in prison, the maximum under the plea. As the judge spoke, Mazzuca wept quietly. But she did not address the court herself. Stage 21, the baby's legacy. Prosecutors ended with a powerful reminder. For nearly 3 decades, the people of Albany had adopted baby Moses as their own. He had a name, a grave, and a community of mourners who had never forgotten him. Justice, though delayed, had finally been delivered. Stage 22, after the sentence. Once the gavel fell on her 25-year prison sentence, the courtroom expected silence. But through her attorney, Mazzuca delivered one last statement. It wasn't a speech of defiance. It wasn't a plea for forgiveness. It was something in between. Stage 23, the statement. Her attorney read aloud words Mazzuca had written. She acknowledged the baby as my son. She said she had lived with unbearable shame for decades. She claimed she'd never stopped thinking of him, though the interrogation video had shown she blocked much of it out. And then, the line that shook the room. If I could trade places with him, I would. Stage 24, community reaction. For many in Albany, it was too little, too late. Some saw her words as an attempt at redemption. Others felt it was hollow, a final performance from a woman who had already lied for 27 years. Outside the courthouse, one mourner who had visited baby Moses' grave for decades said, "She doesn't get to claim him now. He was ours. He always will be." Stage 25, the legacy of baby Moses. The story closes not with Mazzuca, but with the child. At Graceland Cemetery, flowers and candles still appear at the grave of Moses Washington. His headstone reads, "Citizen of Albany. Child of God." For nearly 3 decades, strangers kept his memory alive when his own mother tried to erase it. Final note. Keri Mazzuca will serve her sentence in a New York State prison, eligible for release in her late 70s. By then, baby Moses will have been gone for nearly 60 years. Her final words leave a chilling paradox, a mother who killed her child, but in the end, tried to claim she loved him all along.